Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, brothers, sisters, community, fellow colleagues, humanity. Welcome back to us again. For the last few days, myself, Abdul Bari, have been here trying our best to kind of keep you occupied and busy. I know many people are preserving the isolation, which is a good advice, inshallah. So hopefully everyone is well and safe, and I know many are also suffering now. We'll be talking about that today. So big thanks to everyone. Let's talk about it today. We want to talk about some very, very important issues today, inshallah. And I want everyone to take part. Please send us your messages. Also inform us with up-to-date information. You're going to have an opportunity on the links that you're watching now. Please share the links around so that we get more people watching. I know people in Europe and globally are concerned about this. Let's connect everyone together. And Alhamdulillah, today I've got a very, very special guest with me today. Before I go to my special guest, I'm going to be also helped and assisted by Brother Abu Mumin, who's a social worker. You can see him there as well. He's one of the co-founders for Muslim Burial Fund, as well as Eden Care as well, which are playing an active role now. We'll talk about what the community organizations have been doing so far, and obviously today at the press conference by Boris Johnson's, there is indication that they want to involve the third sector, the communities, because obviously this is a holistic solution that needs to be applied on our society, in our communities. So we'll play a greater role. Also, you can all see, I don't really need to introduce you, but you can see him here. He's very, very famous, very popular. We got Dr. Muhammad Abdul Bari, former chair for East London Mosque, also former General Secretary of the MCB. He's with us. He's an educationalist. He's one of our murabbis. He's also pioneered many of his thoughts through books, and he's been an author of many of the books as well. He holds the ground for providing support for families and also educating families in the current context as well. And this is why he's going to be very important for us today, because obviously a lot of families are isolated. You're with your families, you're at home, you're thinking, what do we do? Many of you are concerned about the education and the welfare of your children in school, at home, without school. And tomorrow is going to be the first day when your children will not be going to school as well. I know many will have to miss their exams as well. So there are many pertinent issues and concerns that you may raise, you may have. This is an opportunity for you to come on board, ask questions, and we'll get Dr. Abdul Bari to actually kind of give his thoughts and feelings. He's also written a piece of article which is very important, his thoughts, and we'll get him to share that as well. The other main important topic we want to discuss today is basically, obviously Boris Johnson made it very clear that we will definitely lose some of our loved ones. What does that mean to us? And what kind of impact that will have on us, yeah? Because obviously for the last 2 days I've been mentioning that we will get numbers every day. Abu Bari will give us some details of how many people have passed away today. But however, these numbers are important. These are important people. They've lived on this earth. They breathe the same air. They've had experience here. Now they're becoming numbers. And for the Muslim community, obviously, there are many religious issues and concerns that we have to look at. There is the petition that's going around in order to kind of stop the government from considering cremating those who are going to be diseased, who are going to pass away under coronavirus. Yeah. So what your opinions are on that, we're going to bring you in. So very quickly, before I go get Abu Bari to come in quickly, just your take so far, and how many people have passed away so far?
Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying this morning I got a message that a young brother known to us all, maybe he will join us. He's actually he's been affected personally by the coronavirus, and we'll talk about his experience. But he was really in a bad situation, and he was going to go out to get the food. And there's one other bit that you have. Some people have to go and recharge their card for electricity, and his card was coming to an end, and he felt he needed to go out.
Abu Bari, just very quickly, this is very important information, because every day we're learning new things, new problems people are facing. Yeah. So this electricity charge up is another practical problem that people are facing, especially in isolation. So if they are isolated and they have meters especially for the electricity, if they can't go out, it's very important because once we bring in the discussion how the voluntary sector, how the community can help out, this is where maybe we need to provide that. So I heard that you actually braved yourself and you went out and you helped him and you done the shopping for him. Yeah. How is the brother now at the moment?
He's left a very, he was telling me the practical tips of how to comfort himself from the coronavirus. So Vicks inhalation, having lemon tea, for example. At times it's very, very painful. I've been hearing some of his messages. It's incredibly distressing, and he's been asked to self-isolate, which is done, but there hasn't been support for example, his shopping and his electric. I felt I had to go. In terms of the number of people, today's death, 56 people died today. And I think the number of total people, I'm going to give that to you later on, inshallah.
Jazakallah. Dr. Abdul Bari, Jazakallah for taking your time out to be with us online. I know it might feel strange that we're trying to do a TV style type of discussion online, but unfortunately we are in the situation that we are. Many people are not allowed to come out, and it is advisable that people stay at home. I have some personal concern. I still see people socializing outside. I just saw a family on the street with their children walking around. First of all, welcome and Jazakallah for the time, and hopefully we will benefit from your thoughts and feelings as well, inshallah.
Iyaakum, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Abu Way?
Yeah, the total number of people who have died in the UK, just got that figure, it's 233, and they are expecting the number to increase. And I'm sure Bari will tell us about why it's important to self-isolate. Somebody was telling me today that the actions taken by the masajids across the UK may have saved thousands of lives, and I'm sure Bari has been one of those people who've been guiding the Muslim community in terms of such policies. But still, people are not isolating, and we need to get that message across. In Victoria Park today, the flower market, there were hundreds of people, and it's not just the Muslim community. We also have to be responsible for all communities. So hopefully, Bari, we can get he can shed some light on this, inshallah.
Bari, come in now. Share us your thoughts on this.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. Jazakumullah khair once again. I think it's a very somber period, and this is the period that many of us in our lifetime haven't seen. We have heard about global pandemic, and we knew from the history about plague during the time of Umar and the history of it, and he faced this serious difficulty in going to one place. Then he was advised not to go. Then he was slightly admonished by one of his friends, companions, the commander of the faithful army, and his response has been unique. He said that I am fleeing from the qadr of Allah to qadr of Allah. So that's the message that Umar gave when he decided not to enter into the plagued area. So Sahabas are our examples, and they follow Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I am just quoting, 1400 years ago, he advised, I quote, if you hear of a plague in a land, then do not go into it. If it happens in a land where you are, then do not go out of it. This is from Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslims. So as Muslims, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's advice, saying, commands are important for us. And I don't think any Muslim who believe in
So,
really
but would you say now taking instructions and taking his advice is a religious duty upon us now?
I think from Muslim perspective, this is our religious duty for us to isolate ourselves according to this hadith. And also Muslims all along for 1400 years, they have followed the people in authority, religious authority and experts and political authority. So our religious authorities are saying, according to this hadith, and there are many other instances, that we should isolate ourselves, we should not go out if there is a plague in area. Plague means our pandemic. So we have got the religious sanction, and then we have got the expert authorities. The world has got, fortunately, alhamdulillah, lots of experts. And in our country, these chief medical officer and chief scientific officers, they are just two, but there are thousands. And amongst them, there are many, many Muslims who are also experts. And also the political authority are saying, for the sake of the country's interest, that you self-isolate, you socially distance yourself. And so by social distance doesn't mean that we just keep ourselves secluded in one small room. In a house, we can do social distancing, and there are unique ways of distancing. And this coronavirus, it is advised that 1 meter to 2 meter separation is important. So we can meet people inside our house, but as Islam has teaches that rather than doing handshake, we can put our right hand on our chest. That is one way of showing respect and courtesy. So we don't have to physically touch. So these are the things that are so important. And from religious point of view, from medical point of view, and also from social point of view, because if we inadvertently infect someone, then from religious point of view, this is this is not at all acceptable. So common sense tells us that we follow the rules and the regulations of the society that we are living, unless that contradicts with our core religious values. And whereas there is sanction from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he has said that 1400 years ago, and also he has also advised many other things that we should do during this period. And it is a test for many of us. It could be punishment for some of us that we do not know. And it is an expiation of sins for probably many of us. So we are not some people accuse that the virus is our enemy, we should fight. We don't use this language. It is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever reason, divine wisdom we don't know. And we have to wither the test in the way that our beloved leader, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, has advised us.
By the way, Jazakallah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
We are getting phone calls. So what I will do, Baribai, and also we will give priority to the phone calls.
Yeah.
If you can follow the messages people are giving, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll follow the messages, inshallah.
Follow the messages and also quickly come in. If people are messaging us, if they're asking questions, then jump in.
Can I just get this bit in, Abdul Bari? That we're going to have a lot of people who will be listening. If you have any questions for Dr. Abdul Bari or any of us, please message them. Send your questions now, and I'll read them out and or call. Jazakallah.
And also, please, everyone who are actually watching us now, please tell other people. Try and tell 5 people to go on the link and kind of share it. The more you share it, we'll be able to kind of like reach a wider audience. I know there are many people who are in isolation. You're at home. And I think it will be very fruitful. We have Brother Abdul Ahad online. Let's see if we can get the brother on. Maybe he has a question or he has a suggestion or he may have some opinions that he wants to share with us. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Brother
Wa alaikum
Abdul.
salam. Is this Brother Abdul Ahad?
My name's Ahad Mia. I am the lead burial person at Eden Care Muslim Burial. And it's wonderful. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you and your guests for doing this program. I think it would be very useful for the community. I was just listening in to our respected elder brother, Dr. Abdul Bari, and I totally agree. Now, a lot of the things is common sense as well. I mean, we physically don't have to handshake anybody and things. we have Islamically, put our hands on our chest, our right hand on our chest, and show our gratitude. Now, with the burials and things, this is what I would like to share at the moment regarding on burials.
Brother Ahad, what you've done is actually brought the burial discussion up the table straight away. But because you're online, we'll go for it, because obviously we want to give you priority. Obviously, there is a petition going around. What's your concern? What's your concern?
Well, my concern is, most importantly, I mean, I, for one, when I speak, I speak as myself at the moment, right now, on your show. I would never, ever, just like the rest of my community in the Muslim world, I don't want to see a single Muslim brother or sister to be cremated. But now we are such in a dilemma, and we need to sign petitions and get our local MPs and leaders and everyone united.
Brother Ahad, why not? Because we're in a desperate time now. I mean, in a desperate time when the situation is not normal and it's very complicated. Surely the benefit of the majority outweighs the harm on the individual.
Well, for a start,
Ahad, if you don't mind, Abdul Bari, I'm going to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because this morning I was on a conference of approximately, there were around about 150 Muslim leaders across the country. And MCB facilitated this. Within that, the National Burial Council, within that, the helpline, charity coordinators, and basically we have the capacity, the Muslim community have the capacity to offer burials. So the recommendation is for the government to give us the scope, if their mortuary are full, to give us the scope to coordinate the burials so that no Muslims are cremated. Now, that was one of the conclusions, and the legislation should be amended. Maybe Dr. Abdul Bari, you want to comment on that, inshallah?
Sorry, before Dr. Abdul Bari comes in, can I get Brother Ahad's? He's on the phone. So let me get Brother Ahad's view in on this one.
No, sure. What Abu Mumin just said, I was on the verge of saying on those lines. Now, we do have that capacity so far, we could do that. Now, this should not come in at the moment. It's only, they can try to implement this if we cannot cope or we don't have the facility. But we have this. And, previous things have proved that we can cope with this. Yes, it is something different, something very dire, Abdul.
Brother Ahad,
but we should have
I think one of the things I'm seeing from the policy level is that most of the policy directions are very general and for the wider society. Do you think the government has much understanding of the sensitivity on this, and do you think the government's actually taken that into consideration? Did they consult with any of the Muslim bodies who are able to, or the professionals who are able to give them that advice? The government needs to take advice from the Muslim community and the Jewish faith. It's not just the Muslim community on its own. Yeah. These are the two faiths that still has 100% burial. Now, together they need to listen, and as you said, they need to understand. And we, our leaders, our communities, our imams, we all need to get together. We need to explain to them. We need to make them understand. Okay, Brother Ahad, stay online. I'm going to bring you back in. Let's go to Murabbi. Obviously, let's see what Dr. Abdul Bari has to say.
No, Jazakumullah khair. I fully agree with Brother Ahad, and Brother Harun Khan, Secretary General, keeps me informed on what's happening, and I knew about the meeting that Abu Mumin has mentioned. So it's a Muslim collective responsibility, and I have also advised him that it is important that Muslims should be brought together and protest in a civil, legalistic way. On the other hand, also it is a necessity for us to see through the political way of handling this, writing to the MPs or influencing the MPs or House of Lords members. Plus, one area is important, that the Muslim community, although a bigger number, we don't have that political clout in this country for various reasons. So what we have to do is to, as Brother Ahad mentioned, the Jewish community is more or less with us on this, and also certain sections of the Christian community will be fully with us. And in the past, when MCB was formed during this period, we worked with churches, with the Jewish community, and other communities who we could work with. So I have advised, and I'm working on bringing the Jewish community and the Christian community with us, so that there is a political out in this demand. Government, out of desperation, will try to do many things, but it's a democratic country, and if there are opportunities available for Muslims to come together, we should come together. And burial places is issue, probably that's not the bigger issue, but keeping if Allah forbid, a number of people die and it's unmanageable, then I think we should collectively find out places for the dead bodies to keep secured and safe for 1 or 2 days, and the whole community should come together. And I just want to mention one thing, that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps our death, say like a Malaysian plane that entered in the ocean and everybody perished, out of them there were many Muslims. So if we are in that condition, this is not in our control. But the thing that which we can control or we can manage, if we make effort collectively, then we must not come out of this effort, and we should leave no stone unturned, so that our Muslim brothers and sisters would be those who will be unfortunately dying. Hope they are not cremated.
Bari Bhai, a question from Brother Shahjan Talha.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a lot of confusing information going on the social media.
Yeah.
So is cremation for coronavirus, is it a thing? Is it a myth, or is actually a discussion that the government is talking about? Can you please clarify that?
Abu Bakr, before Barry Bhai clarifies that, Brother Ahad, do you have any other points you want to make before you come off the line? I know you're still on the phone.
Yes. No, I totally and utterly agree with Bari Bhai, Dr. Bari Bhai.
Okay.
This is important. It is very important. I mean, this is what I'm trying to get out to the community.
Okay.
We as an organization,
your point has been noted. We're going to be discussing that, and Dr. Abdul Bari will actually give his response now. Jazakallah. Thank you for calling us.
Assalamu alaikum.
I think if the whole Muslim community, all the scholars, come together and say in circumstances cremation is allowed, I don't know whether they can do this, but I'm not a scholar, I'm not a theologian, so I will not pass any judgment on this. But as a Muslim, I relish that when I die, I am given burial. And I think most Muslims, or in fact overwhelming Muslims, will do this. So why those who are still alive do not fight for this cause? Because this is one of the cause that we should fight legally and in the civil manner. And there are ways in a democratic society to change the government opinions. Government has not made up its mind yet. And if there are plenty of serious voice from Muslims, Jewish, and the Christian community, then I'm sure government will find a way. And probably government will ask you, do you have the capacity to handle this situation? Then, of course, it will come on our shoulder.
Abu Bhai, what can we do?
Abdul Bhai, I'm going to just, for everybody who's watching, yesterday, when I posted this information, cremation or burial, people have said it's not true. It's been fabricated. On reading about this today, getting advice from lawyers and solicitors, people from the legal profession, the politicians, the MP from Bradford, Nasha, she is tabling a motion that
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it is a reality. If we do nothing, then there is a possibility that some of the Muslims may be given cremation.
Okay.
If we act now, we have 24 hours to act, and what we need to do is really push everyone to write to their MPs and get them to take a Muslim, Jewish, and some Christian-friendly position on not cremation, but burial, because we do have the capacity. I spoke to Muhammad Omar from Gardens of Peace, spoke to Asif from Eternal Gardens, and up and down the country. We have the capacity.
Just to be very critical, Away, just to ask you, what evidence do you have that in these circumstances, in safeguarding the wider interests of the society, because obviously the body is contaminated, this is why they're taking those kind of steps forward. I'm
Actually,
sure
that's not correct.
You can explain. What evidence do we have to say that burial will be better, more scientific, and will be in the interest of the community rather than the spiritual or the religious argument?
Okay. First of all, if the medical professionals have advised us all that doing a burial will put everybody at significant risk. They're not saying that. What they're saying, put the body in a body bag. First of all, before the body bag, another a plastic wrapping, and then the body bag, and then the coffin. And they're saying it's safe. The issue here is at play. The politicians are thinking the worst case scenario. Now, 233 people died. They're looking at thousands, 10,000. Do they have the capacity? That's what they're looking at. What they need to do is put a Muslim, Jewish, Christian-friendly clause in there that they need to consult the Muslim community. If we don't have the capacity, we will say we don't have the capacity. But they need to give us that capacity.
Abu Bari, let me ask you now, if the government bodies came to you and said to you, is the Muslim community ready to fulfill that? What would your answer be?
Okay, so in the conference today, Eating Care, Muslim Burial Fund, we were part of that. The Muslim community has the capacity. Well, I agree with Dr. Abdul Bari. I think we need to be better organized. We weren't expecting something like this, not in our dreams. And
well, you know,
I think
even the government is not better organized. Yeah, so I mean,
I think we are very organized. From our Grenfell experience, we responded as a small charity, very small charity. We responded significantly. 42 burials for the Grenfell fire victims. I think we got better capacity. And Dr. Abdul Bari Bhai and others, with your expertise and knowledge and influence, I would suggest better coordination between all sectors, because I said earlier on, I went to visit somebody today who has coronavirus. He's below 40 years of age. Right now, he's listening in, he's suffering.
Abu Bhai, let's see if we can get the brother online.
Yeah, we should.
I mean, I think he's trying to call us, or if not, you know, we will try and call him and try and get him on, because it would be very important for us to get a view of someone who's actually suffering this, and especially in isolation with no other external support and that. Yeah. So as soon as I get the message, as soon as I know he's online, we'll get him on board, inshallah. And let's just proceed with this, because obviously people are very concerned about the burial. As one good point, I think Dr. Abdul Bari said is, look, we have to take this seriously, and burial is an essential part of the Muslim community, not just the Muslim, but the Jewish community, and there's other people as well. We have to make the argument that, look, you know, the burial is the best way to actually even bodies that have infection and so forth, is the best way to do it, is to put it back into the earth. We have to make the scientific argument as well, because at the moment, the government is looking at managing everything, you know, management crisis at the moment. That's what's on their head at the moment, yeah? If they are confident...
We have one of our MPs, Apsana, she's listening, she's watching. I can see that on my screen. Maybe one of the things, she can also call in and give us how many MPs, Labour MPs, Conservative, because it's not a party issue. Maybe we can ask her to call in, Apsana. There's a number. And maybe if she cannot, we'll give her another number so that she can give us reassurance. Abdul Bari Bhai.
Yes.
Why, can you please, there's quite a lot of people watching.
Okay.
Why should we be writing and lobbying our MPs regarding to give us the burial opportunity first?
I think
Bari Bhai, before you answer that, I'm going to give you another critical question. Also, bear this in mind. You know, some people may say, well, the Muslim community is actually, taking too much of the good time of the government in dealing with the main issues, and obviously this may be seen as a side issue. That energy, that strength should be put into other activism, other support. So bear that in mind. If you think of the balance, how would you approach it?
Okay, this question first. Is Muslim community doing too much on this? I think it is our civic obligation to advise our government, and if the government makes the wrong decision and we feel that could be redressed, then it is a community's responsibility to come up. And I think it is not only Muslim issue, it's the Jewish issue and of course sections of the church issue. And the issue is about management. And if the government really thinks that if, God forbid, the number goes so high they cannot manage, even then I think our community is in a position to handle it, provided there is leadership. And leadership means we have many ills in our community, but we are really very good in certain areas. In medical professions, we have disproportionately higher number of doctors and nurses, probably 10 to 12%. In charity sector, Muslims are really good. In the mosques, there are nearly 2,000 mosques, and there are plenty of volunteers, young volunteers in our community. And we have seen this in different issues of crisis Muslims have come up and done. And I'm sure the issue is burial. Definitely scientifically, burial is dumps body underneath, under certain 2-3 feet or more. So this is safe. And the only issue to me is about, if the number is high, then where would the bodies be kept before it starts rotting, and can we manage that? And I think we have in our community capacity in the mosques and different places to probably find places where there will be plenty of facilities for air conditioning, because temperature probably, Abu Mumin and others might know better, temperature should be probably 8 or probably at a certain temperatures. And if we can do this for a day or two, and simultaneously if we, inshallah, are able to bury them with the help of all the volunteers under the leadership of all these Muslim burial grounds, then I think this can be managed. We are talking at the moment of theoretical scenarios. So in the theoretical scenario, we think as a community we can manage. But if, God forbid, something goes beyond our capacity, then we will say that, okay, we are unable. And our ulama probably will come up with their opinions, inshallah.
No, Jazakallah, Dr.
Maria Josie, she wrote a question for you. The people who pass away from this virus, are they considered as martyrs?
Well, according to Islamic theology that we have, I know, and we have learned, they will be treated as martyrs. Of course, in Islam, anyone who professes Islam publicly, and we don't know their internal situation, so obviously these are treated as martyrs, shaheed.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Just on the this policy, usually what happens, Bari, when a Muslim person dies, within 24 hours we try to get the burial done. Now, we can, a person passes away. From that moment, if the doctors and they can issue us with the death certificate and the green form, which is the burial form, the Muslim community, we can, within hours of a person passing away, we can organize the burial up and down the country for the Muslim
Inshallah.
And the Jewish community. So the problem lies because of the doctors and the registry office. They're not connected. So if they are connected, they can do it fast. We are ready. I think the Muslim community, we are ready to take those deceased bodies from the hospital straight to the burial grounds. There's no need to take to the masajids because of health and safety grounds.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Wait, just very quickly, I just want to come in. It is scientifically possible, especially in partnership, in order to work with NHS, because they have specialized professionals who are actually mapping out potential deaths that could result from this with the services, with all the resources that they have. What needs to happen from the Muslim perspective is a communication from the burial expertise to find out what their projection is within the Muslim community, because what the health bodies have done, they know how many people, today they gave stats of how many people they think percentage-wise who have like illnesses that will affect them. Obviously, tomorrow, by Tuesday, letters will be sent to all those who are high risk. So if we get that information and if we get that projection from those professionals, then maybe we'll be able to roughly understand what kind of percentage within the Muslim community that may result into death. That will give us the opportunity to understand the preparation that we need to do. I think it's very important that that leadership role needs to take place now. Coordination needs to happen, because we want to be ready when this crisis takes place, because we're not even, the situation isn't started yet. We're actually at the bottom, growing, and hopefully in the next week, they're saying 2 weeks, we're going to be reaching the point where we're going to feel it. At the moment, we're not feeling the pinch, are we?
Can I just answer this question? Both Dr. Abdul Bari and you, Abdul Bari, know me very well. I had no interest or little interest around palliative care, end-of-life care, or burial. I was doing something else. My mum passed away, and she had terminal illness, and I had first-hand observation and experience of the treatment of my own mother. The world changed when my mum died, but at that time, I realized the Muslim community were in red flag from an elderly, terminally care point of view. Why I'm saying this? There's going to be 250,000 Muslims reaching the age of 65 by 2030. MCB did a whole research on this. The Hospice UK did a whole research on this. The Muslim community were not prepared. And also the NHS is a very difficult place to have access to communicate our wishes and feelings. Policy change. Bari may not know, I say this all the time. When my mother was in ICU unit in the Royal London Hospital, 2 male nurses came and said to my mother, "We're going to give you a wash." How undignified is that? They are not. We've been in existence for 5 years now. We are trying our best to communicate with the NHS, and it's not happening. It's been a very difficult, very high wall, and I'm hoping that our Murabbis, I try to engage Dr. Shuja, I try to engage MCB and others. It's a very high wall to go. I spoke to Michael Howard. He's the chairman for Hospice UK. And his answer was, Muslim community, we are not in need of this because we have extended family. We take care of one another. This is not true. We did our own research from Eden Care. We have found there are many, many isolated Muslims who are in care homes. They don't have family members. And I just think that communication needs to be had. Maybe Abdul Bari can comment on that, inshallah.
No, I think there are many issues in the Muslim community that we need to address, and we are a relatively new community, and we came from 4 corners of the world. So central leadership is virtually is not there realistically. Although it's good that Alhamdulillah there is MCB and there are other professional organizations, those who are now coming. So those are the big issues, elderly care and others. But our immediate concern is in this crisis, if Allah forbid, the number of deaths rise astronomically and we are unable, then what do we do? And what I'm saying that given our potentials and on the seriousness on this issue, then probably if we come together, then we can handle this. And we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it doesn't happen, then it is okay. If it happens, if we are able to manage, then probably this is we are passing a test in our future 10, 12 years that Abu Mumin is saying. So at this moment, it's important that we gather our energies and friends and allies in the parliament, in both parliaments, House of Commons and House of Lords, so that we make an improvement in the legislation, that options are there, and if we are unable to cope, then we will discuss probably at that time. But I think still at this moment we can confidently say that if we can make this legislation palatable for Muslims, that will be better, and we should try for that.
Abu Bari, I know there's a petition going. Tell us a little bit about the petition.
Well, there's a petition that regarding the law is called coronavirus bill. Within possibly by Monday or Tuesday, Bari. Is it Monday or Tuesday? They're going to
Tuesday.
I think it's probably going to House of Commons tomorrow, and then House of Lords. And Paula, our sister Paula Uddin called me, and she's trying to discuss with her colleagues in the House of Lords, because although House of Lords is not that powerful, but if they have got a strong voice, that will have impact on the House of Lords' opinion.
Which is why we need to lobby. And at the moment, if we do not lobby, the likelihood of that option of avoiding cremation is not going to be there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know a lot of the messages right now we're getting people, there's going to be a lot of people who will be very, very upset if it does go through. And I'm saying, whoever's watching, if you haven't written to your MP, if you haven't got your MP to campaign, speak to your colleagues across the party, regardless, this is the time to unite. And what needs to happen is we need to be given an option as a community before accepting cremation. And I'm sure, inshallah, we will try our best to offer a dignified burial, inshallah.
Jazakallah. We're still trying to contact the brother, but obviously, unfortunately, he's not picking up.
He's not well. I just spoke to him. He's in severe pain. His throat, and he falls. Let me just quickly talk about him again.
Please, yeah.
He's. I learned about him, and he said, and I called him, and he said, Abu Bari, I need to go and get food. I said, and he needs to charge his electric. So what I did, I put the gloves and everything on, and took him the food, and left it outside his door. And it was as simple as that. He could you imagine, if he had gone out, he could have contaminated another 5 people, 10 people. And that's where I think we need to talk about self-isolation. Just now, as before we were getting on, one of the things Eating Care is doing, we're providing telephone befriending. Normally we go in person. Because of this virus, we're providing this support. There are lots of people who are isolated. They're alone and suffering. And we're offering that support to them, as well as if there is anybody who is in need of burial support, Muslim burial support, Eating Care, Muslim Burial Fund will take care of that. If there are Sikh communities, Christian communities, Jewish communities who require burial support, they may contact us, and we are working with one of our partners, Christian partners, who can facilitate their burial arrangement according to their wishes and faith.
Yep, Jazakallah. Abu, just want to kind of thank all the people who are constantly giving us messages. Please, you can still call us. The number is available. Also, please message us. Give us your vital points and opinions. Inshallah, I mean, with this virus, coronavirus, it's global. And I don't know if some people have seen one video of a doctor from Bangladesh. And it's interesting. I want to hear what other people's take on this. And he's saying basically the coronavirus cannot survive at a certain temperature. Okay, because most of the European countries are cold, some of the Middle Eastern countries are cold. This is why the virus is actually hitting those places very strongly. Yeah, what he's saying, soon as the temperature rises, soon as the hot season kicks in, that will be able to kind of like suppress it, and especially in most of the South Asian countries where it's very, very hot. How much of that is true, I'm not sure. He does claim to be a medical profession. Have any of our panelists seen that? Is there any truth into that? Abu Bay?
Me, I haven't seen any research. We've had a sister from the UK who's travelled from UK to Bangladesh. I've heard that the police isolated her, isolated the family, and even taking the whole issue of the virus seriously, the process. In other places, it's not. It's very relaxed. I won't be able to comment about the science about behind it.
If there are any medical professions who are actually watching us now, please make comment. Please suggest. You can actually message us. It'd be quite useful because obviously, we as a community, we may not have the whole medical background and understanding. What the medical professional was saying in Bangladesh, he was saying, yes, people will get it because the temperature is low, but as soon as those countries, the temperatures go up, that virus won't be able to survive, especially if it comes out and it goes onto any of the metal or clothes and things like that. At the moment, the virus is able to stay there longer, even on the clothes for a couple of days, on metal a couple of days, and that's why the contamination is much, much more serious. However, that's something that we can look at. If there are any medical professions out there, we can actually clarify that. That would be very, very useful. That brings me to, how do we as a community kind of like understand, the facts and the non-facts, and how do we, measure that up as well? That's quite important because a lot of people are still confused with the current situation. Bari bhai?
I think regarding the temperature, I don't know the exact temperature when probably this virus cannot survive, but there are cases in Australia, New Zealand, which are hot countries, and Indonesia. I have a very close friend in Indonesia that is increasing. In Malaysia, it's increasing. So there should be research on that, and there hasn't been any concrete advice from the World Health Organization that within certain temperature this virus cannot survive. But this virus can mutate, and its resilience is there. But there are certain surfaces, there are resources that certain surfaces can kill it off within say a few hours, and but these are also important for immunologists or virologists to confirm with us. But for us, it's a matter of containing in this current situation that we are in.
I've got a question for Bari Bhai.
Mm-hmm.
The doctors and the politicians, even Nicholas Sturgeon today said we shouldn't be normal. We shouldn't. This is unprecedented. Our life will be impacted. If people are saying it's not going to be impacted, then there's an issue. Now, somebody said on social media today, some of the flower market, some of the parks are full of people.
Yeah.
What advice can you give about self-isolation? What does that mean? Some practical tips?
Well, I have, as Afzal mentioned, I have written an article and it's now going to be published soon. And I have mentioned this only, I have not talked about the coronavirus, what we can do, what are the lessons. I think social isolation, as mentioned from the hadith, you see, it is important that Muslims should abide by two laws. One is what Prophet ﷺ says, and I'm sure what he says doesn't contradict with proved medical science. So there are medical opinion, there are social opinion, so Muslims should follow that. So I know I heard that in Bangladesh people the government has given the holiday for schools, and people are going, leave from the schools, and they are going for holidays and enjoying. Some people, I'm not saying all. So it's fundamentally important that we do the basic things that I mentioned in my article. I'm just reading, say hand washing, basic hand washing. This is not at all difficult for Muslims. It is easy because we pray 5 times a day, and physical distances, avoiding crowded areas. These are essential. Because what happens if we are casual and do not give importance, then many things could be taken casually, and we know people have succumbed to many problems. This is a problem where it's not only me that is affected. This is my family. This is my community as a whole society. And I heard about the Lombardy in Italy, that when the area was locked down, these people from the Lombardy area, the north of Italy, they were rich, and many of them fled away from their own places to different places in their different houses in different areas, and that aggravated the situation. So, for Allah's sake, Muslims should not do this silly thing that they will not follow what Prophet ﷺ told us. And also, medical advice is also medical profession is highly regarded and respected in the Islamic tradition. So why wouldn't we follow our Prophet ﷺ and also medical advice? And I mentioned medical profession, 12 to 13% in the NSS medical profession consist of Muslims. So they are our brothers and sisters who are working in the system.
Can I just ask an additional question?
Sure.
Bari, some people are not listening.
Okay.
Would you recommend the government to enforce an enforced lockdown? Because they'll be spreading this disease to other people.
I think that's why the democracy is a relative term. This country praises Singapore, and Singapore is a democracy, but it's a ruthless democracy. And they make law and they enforce it. The importance is, if government says something, government was criticized, remember, in this country, that our government was advising. Advice is not enough. It has to be legislated. If there is legislation, and I don't think people in this country at this moment will protest about that, because it's for the interest of the country. But that
for Hana Begum, she's listening to you right now.
But that
she's saying,
okay,
people are not listening.
Bariba has made that very clear. Because
that's what I'm saying. That it comes from Prophet ﷺ's guidance and advice and historical advice, and Umar whose personal example that he ran away. He did not enter into a city where there was plague. So who else would be the best authority in Islam apart from these two great men? Prophet ﷺ is the leader of the whole of humanity, Rahmatul lil Alamin. So why shouldn't we follow? On the other hand, why should people jeopardize their own life as well as the life of others for just things that they can manage to keep away? And in Ramadan, we keep away from food and many other things that is halal. Why can't we do things which is going to help the whole humanity, not only Muslim Ummah?
Bari, you know what the reality is, there are many of us who are probably carrying this virus we don't even know. Okay,
yeah,
and that could be a very, very important fact. Big percentage of us, let's say those who are healthy, those who are strong, who are within a certain age category, not in the pensioners level, we may be carriers. So being a carrier, going and meeting and mingling with other people, we are actually, causing the harm for other fellow human beings here. And I think it's so important as individuals, we must take that very seriously. We must create the thinking of self-isolation, how I, as an individual, do not become harmful to my neighbors and other people, maintain that 2-meter distance. I mean, yes, there are situations where people will have to go out, have to travel, they'll have to go to buy food, essentials, whatever. They won't be able to stay in their house 24 hours as a lockdown. And I think the government is saying, people should use their own moral compass in order to do that. However, I think because for the last couple of days and couple of weeks, some people are not actually adhering to this. They still think this is okay. And also there are so many gray areas, like today at the press conference when one of the reporters said, well, children playing in the playground, they won't be able to maintain the 2-meter distance because they are children. They're going to go and play, push and whatever. So there needs to be direct government interjection here in order to kind of like make it very clear that this is the law now. Please, you cannot go to the parks, you cannot play. All the other places are closed, and some of the pubs are saying, well, we're still going to be open. Okay, we're going to be open. So there are some areas where, unless you have the law saying it, people are not going to adhere to it. Now, the good thing I have to say, mashallah, the masjids responded in the best way. I have to say that.
Not all the masjids.
No. Majority. Those masjids that have not actually taken the sunnah approach, obviously they have a different opinion. That is a debate within the scholars. But majority of the masjids that I know, beforehand, they were getting information, they responded. I have to really congratulate the community leaders who actually took that on and they safeguarded, because my take is that I think the spreading of the coronavirus, especially in the BME community, will be significantly high in the Muslim community because we congregate.
Which is correct. Out of the first 10 people who died, the first 10 people, 4 of them were Muslims, because of our extended network. Children go out to school, they come home, they infect their grandparents. Even yesterday, I've got the reports here. Somebody's saying, I don't want to mention the mosque. In the front, they close the mosque and they got a side entrance. So they go and secretly pray, thinking that is an ibadah. And clearly they're not listening to instructions. I don't want to name and shame those mosques. What I do want to say is, please call in. Please call in the number that has been given and give your question directly to whoever, any of us here.
Well, Abu Bhai, we have some very sensible people who are messaging us. Sister Farhana Begum, she's not seen her dad for about 3 weeks now. Okay. Myself, I've got an elderly mother. Okay, and my brothers and sisters, what they've done is we've discussed and we've made a plan and a program for her. She's in her place with my sister, looking after her. My sister is also not well as well. So we have taken steps to make sure that we don't become the problem for our parents, because you've got to remember, we don't have a cure. There's no cure for this at the moment. It's not going to come within the next 12 months. So if anyone vulnerable person gets this virus, okay, they're going to go through a difficult time, and NHS most likely is not going to be able to handle the volume at the moment. So we have to play our part, and inshallah, hopefully people who are watching us, you've got to, I mean, one thing occurred to me. I have to cycle wherever I go. I'm cycling, okay? So as soon as I cycle, when I come to an end, there's more cyclists there. I cannot maintain my 2 meter distance. So even cycling, I'm trying my best to keep my 2 meters distance. I'm covering my mouth. I'm trying my best not to, because you don't know where you're going to get it, how you're going to get it, but we do know we're going to get it if we touch something, and if someone breathes and if they sneeze and all that substance, you pick up and you take it. The masjid did a fantastic job, because I think we would have spread this within our community, and maybe we already have. We don't know. Maybe we already have shared it, and we're just waiting for it to affect. Now, the brother that is suffering at home, somehow he's got this. He didn't catch it on his own. He must have got it from someone else, and now he's in self-isolation. And it's important that he stays in that situation. And it was good that you went and helped him. Otherwise, he would have desperately gone out to buy some food. He would have gone somewhere to buy the food.
And there are people who are suffering alone. All they need to do is contact, let's say, organization like Eating Care that I'm part of. We can provide a telephone befriending. We can even arrange basic shopping for you, at least for a week. until you get back on your feet. My question to Dr. Abdul Bari, I know it's a slight deviation. It's still, I'm sure you've heard about the bulk buying and increasing of prices. What would your message be in regards to that?
Subhanallah, there is beautiful hadith, many hadiths on that. Bulk buyers will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I can't exactly remember the sentence, the wording of this, but bulk buying or hoarding is haram in Islam. This government is saying one health professional did the job for the whole day and she couldn't buy food because that was gone. This is not only haram, this is inhuman. So Muslims should not do this. And of course, we should take precaution for, say, 1 week or say maximum 2 weeks, and we should help others. But that is understandable. But buying for, say, 3 months or 6 months, if God forbid they are not there in this world, this will be wasted.
Dr. Abdul Bari, can I just quickly interject here? Do you think that's a natural instincts of the people? Because obviously, if the government hasn't prepared the business sector, the government hasn't prepared the civic sector, surely the public are taking things in their own hands. Who would want to be stuck for 12 months in their house in isolation? If they were to maintain that isolation, they will need that assurance from government that says that, look, they will not be starving at home. So what I think is probably happening is that people have taken the knee-jerk reaction. They've gone out there, and it's a lack of communication because the government hasn't been considering this aspect. They've got their strategy. They're dealing with the NHS. That's where the problem is, because they need to save lives at that level. The police force is also now going through their thinking, because obviously if the people are panic buying, it's causing anxiety. People are getting frustrated. We also know the criminal elements are now jumping on the bandwagon. There are incidences where people mask because everyone's wearing a mask. They're going around and they're mugging people as well. So this is now the police will not be able to deal with this because they will need the army to help them now as well. So under this climate, it is not the normal circumstances. So when I saw people bulk buying, I thought to myself, well, what are they really doing? How long? What's the time? There's no clarity. Can we really blame them?
Well, I agree that the government in many aspects came slow and they are still not fully clear. I fully agree to that. And government is now coming and especially the business. So the business, they are saying that food is there, everything is there. Supply from the storage to the shops are taking some time. That is an issue that the government is at the moment saying.
But the government was ready with, sorry to say this, but the government was ready with a master plan for Brexit. Okay, so within the Brexit, they had everything in place, if it went pear-shaped. Now, we knew this for 5-6 months. It happened in China. We had the time. My issue is the government did not take all its measures in place. And this is why you've had panic buying. And not only you had panic buying, you've had people now hiking the price up. And there is no ethical boundaries on how much they can hike the price up.
Can I just give you an example? I went to see Kobe today, took him food. He needed disinfectant. He needed things that could help him clean his house again, make him better. He needed gloves. If he was going to go out, he needed those masks. So I said, I'll go and see if I can find some of those things in a local supermarket. I went to the largest one possible in Beckton, and they don't have any of this. Kobe doesn't, who's suffering, he doesn't. If he doesn't, he's a very articulate man. Could you imagine all those people who are suffering? What happens to them from a practical point of view? We cannot get them that help because somebody has taken all of that in their home and stocked up for 1 whole year.
Well, let me counter that as well. Some people have actually shopped for other people. They haven't just shopped for themselves. They've gone out to shop for their extended family members. That's why you've seen certain number of bulk buying. Yeah. because they weren't just shopping for one person. Yeah, they were shopping for 7, 8 people in their family, their elderly parents and other family members, and also other neighbors on the block who were not able to go shopping. So that's why that had a significant impact on more people going out shopping. We know for a fact that shopping culture is going to be limited for a certain period. Now the shops are empty. There's no one going there. There's no one actually queuing up because they've done the shopping. The question is, people got angry with the price increase, yeah, because they felt the people felt that now in their vulnerability, the business owners, especially in these grocery shops, they actually were murdering the people in their desperation. So that's a concern. And my concern is that has come about because there's another sector that we haven't regulated morally and ethically. We have Sharia councils for marriage and other aspects, but when it comes to trade, commerce, when it comes to this level, there's no much guidance. There's nobody that people can turn to. No one is saying, look, they cannot increase this by more than 10 or 15%. People are increasing 50, 60%, and they've made profit out of people's misery at the moment.
I think the responsibility lies with the government in a democratic, accountable government, and they have been slow. I fully agree with that. On the other hand, as normal human beings, sensible human beings, we should use our common sense that we discussed in the beginning, that it is not only me or my family that will be affected, it is the whole world. Unfortunately, in the current overall political, moral, spiritual climate, this thing has been missing from the global leaders, from Muslim leadership, and across the world. So it is a realistic situation. We don't live in an ideal situation. What we have to do is to learn from our own mistakes, and especially the household leaders, community elders, or mosque leaders should play their part, that they should try to influence people under their authority.
Dr. Abdul Bari, sorry to come in very quickly. We have to learn, and I agree, but we have to learn fast. We're in crisis situation. Every second is danger and harm to everyone. Okay, so we don't have the luxury of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months. This probably will stretch over 12 months, maybe more. We don't know. Yeah, I just want to bring one of our text messages, Brother Akbar Hussein, who said the government is actually circulating 1.5 million letters to elderly people, those who are vulnerable. Some steps are taken, but however, there's no information or anything to the wider society, especially the younger people. A lot of the younger people are not taking this very seriously because they have been told that young people will not be affected. Because young people are not going to be affected, there is a lot of interaction. Young people are still out and about. What would you say, Dr. Abdul Bari? How do we deal with our young people? Because obviously this is an area that you have expertise in, especially younger children who are now isolated at home. Parents are actually struggling. It's become, for some parents, it's a big nightmare. However, whatever little nightmares that you have looking after your children, if someone is going to get this virus, that nightmare is going to be surely greater. Yeah. So, any advice on especially the youth and young children being at home?
Sure. I'll come to that, inshallah. But 1.5 million, as far as the news goes, I learned that these are the 1.5 million ill people who are on with certain diseases. They will be temporarily taken a bit aside to look after this. So that's the main purpose. For the young people, I have message for parents and grandparents. Grandparents have to be careful. If they're above 60, they have to be really, really careful with their interaction. What I think that we Muslims are very good during the time of fasting. I think that is the reality. I have seen through my childhood that Muslims do not pray probably, but when it comes to Ramadan, most Muslims, apart from very small minority who fast and for the whole month, and during the time of fasting they pray. In the fasting, we have 10 days of seclusion called i'tikaf. And in my article, which I'm going to circulate tonight or tomorrow, I have mentioned that it is a great opportunity from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to use an extended i'tikaf. And during this i'tikaf, because we cannot do anything. We should not go outside and we should not intermingle. This i'tikaf concept or spiritual seclusion, what we can do in this spiritual seclusion Parents who couldn't talk with their young children because they were too busy.
Yes,
They have to
yes.
find quality time with their own parents. Grandparents should find their times with permission of their parents. And also, many people are too busy to talk with their own neighbors. This is a great opportunity to spiritually harvest or reap the benefit of the time, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this test. This extra time, according to the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, five things before five things. We all know this. Our youth before we grow old, our free time before we become too busy. We had been too busy. We are having a rat run in our society, terribly busy. People don't find time to pray properly, and it is time now. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, blessed us with. I say this blessing because this blessing in disguise could be that many people will realize that they have spoiled their life. So it is time they learn Quran, they practice Islamic practices, they spend their time with their children. And the social media, I have been always criticizing social media, but this is one time I will say that use this social media for contacting those who you haven't contacted for, say, many years. Because we cannot physically contact people, you can telephone them, you can WhatsApp them.
Yeah.
Use this for a good purpose. So there are many things that we can do during this temporary bonus time, the extra time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And who knows how many of us will stay in this world after this time or not, we don't know. So why don't we use maximum time for maximum benefit, or spiritual benefit? And Ramadan is coming, alhamdulillah. So before Ramadan, we can start our own etikaf. Etikaf, I'm not using this word etikaf, but spiritual seclusion. And if we can do this, there will be barakah in our life. Children will listen to us. Our relationship will develop and will be blended with our children. They will listen to us. And grandparents can also help their own children's children. At the moment, I am a grandparent, so it's such a pleasure to spend time with grandchildren. So why don't we spend our time, time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them without asking, and for our spiritual benefit? We can pray extra nafal, we can fast Mondays and Thursdays. There are many ways of using time at home rather than going outside, becoming bored and going outside and spoil our life and others' life.
Inshallah. I just want to read Farhana Begum's story. She's sent a message. I have an autistic child, and she had to stop a befriending service because of the risk. She's saying people should take this seriously. She's saying she cannot afford to bulk buy. She doesn't have meat because it's very expensive. And she has vegetable dish for lunch and dinner. She lives in a flat where children go from room to room, and she's very, very scared and isolated. What I say to her, sister, you can contact organization like us or other organization, and we could provide you with a telephone befriending and other types of activities. And we have other sisters who are ready to do this. And we know there are many others who are silently listening. And what we need to do is get our voices to them, that you don't have to be alone.
One thing I would like to say here is I think this is the whole purpose we're doing these kind of discussion shows, because we want to bring people on board. And I'm really, really grateful for Sister Farhana being honest, because we need to know this. If we don't know how people are suffering now, we can't look at ways of finding solutions. I know there are going to be many people in isolation who are going to be suffering. Some people are not going to say that they haven't got any food in their fridge or in the kitchen, or they weren't able to stock up properly. You know, I think we have a big responsibility now as a community. And I think one thing we want to look at now as a topic is looking at what we can do as a community in moving forward and providing these kind of supports. Abu Bari, I know you've been thinking about certain ways of actually providing support. I know from my charity organization that I work for, Human Aid, we've actually done a mind shift. We've looked at, we're helping people around the world. We're helping people in Syria, Gaza, Lebanon, Yemen, in war-torn countries, victims of war. We're providing that support. Much of their money and support that we get from the community is actually helping them and benefiting them. Now that hand will be cut off because, as you're probably aware, during the month of Ramadan, a lot of charities, depend on money that is raised. That money will not be raised. Henceforth, a lot of these programs in various different countries will be affected. So this coronavirus is a secret killer. It's an open kind of an enemy to society. It's an invisible war that no one has any experience over yet. However, there were some very prominent people in the past 5-6 years ago who predicted this will happen. However, the world wasn't ready for this. The world hasn't been ready with the climate change. We can only kind of like put our hands up and say we are partly to be blamed of this. But we as a community, we must think of ways of how we can continue helping. So especially a lot of the charity organizations now are putting their heads together thinking, what is our responsibility? We should do something in the UK, and one of the things that we should do, draw that energy back into the UK and provide support. So at least from Human Aid UK perspective, we're going to be working closely with the NHS to provide food and support and materials that their frontline service people need in order for them, so that they don't need to come out of the hospital. Some of them are doing double shifts. Some of them not, they're not taking breaks, and they won't have that opportunity to come out. So if the community gets together, we're going to be doing some fundraisers to actually support them. So we have to respect the frontline services. It's really, really disgusting to see some of the frontline services after a long shift go to the shops and find out all the shelves are empty. Now we need to be thinking about those who are fighting for us at the front line. They're taking the risk themselves, because there is a big chance a lot of these professional people will actually catch this as well. So as a community organization, within a short period of time, what can we do? We need help from MCB as well. We need guidance from there in order to look at the professionalism that we have, and we need to draw that energy back into the UK, so that as a British Muslim, we are contributing to the solution of the society where we are suffering together collectively. Abu Bari, obviously you've got some experience with the grassroots. Let's start with you first.
I've got a question for Bari Bhai.
Okay.
Yep.
Bari Bhai.
Yes.
Is this going to get worse?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, and I think it started in China, or outbreak was in China and the Korea, and then the epicenter has moved to Europe. Some people are fearing that it may go to America or South Asia or India, and there is secondary infection is going on in Far East Asia. So it is very difficult to say.
One of our text messages actually texted in and informed that he heard from someone close to him. A sister traveled to Bangladesh from the UK and actually became a victim of this coronavirus in Bangladesh as well. So there are now deaths taking place in Bangladesh for those of us who have family members who actually come from that region. So it is spreading.
So I'm just going to bring you back. Is it going to get? It's going to get worse, isn't it?
I think we can say that it's going to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, but it's going to get worse. But how worse, and for how long, and from where does it go? It is very difficult to say, because Italy has shocked Europe and West. China was a far distant place, and G7 country, and one of the most rich country in the world, and the way it is struggling. Imagine this goes to South Asia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India, where health system and people's casualness and slums and others, it will be a catastrophe. And last 102 years ago, 2018, a Spanish flu cost 50 million people at that time. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us that it is not revisited, it doesn't revisit again things similar to this. But it all depends on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and how human beings collectively can contain this. One thing I also mentioned in my paper is, unfortunately, in the past, even in 2008 financial situation, UN is virtually paralyzed or very weakened. At least there was global coordination in the 2008. Gordon Brown was prime minister in this country. I know him personally, and I think out of all these prime ministers I have seen in this country, he probably in some ways far better. He coordinated on his own to address this issue. That was the bankers' problem, but there was some global leadership. But at the moment, every country is my country first.
Yeah.
And that situation has come into me first. And if America is the richest, and it doesn't care what happens in the world. It is, even in America, it ignored for the first few weeks. So there is no global leadership. And I have suggested, and it's very small voice, that richer and developed countries, organized countries like Britain can cope with it, although it may cost, but at least it can cope. And
yeah. And we have NHS. We have NHS.
Help countries like, yeah. So these countries, richer countries, once they come out of this, to help poorer and developing countries, so that, because at the end of the day, world is global now, and we cannot say that we will protect our borders. There is no border. So I am worried on that aspect, that there is no global leadership, and who is not. World Health Organization is just giving advice. It's not a leader, and UN Security Council doesn't virtually exist. So my worry is in a bigger scale.
Abu Bari, we've got an interesting text message that's come through. Do you want to read that?
Is that from Farhana?
Yep.
She sent my mom is in Daesh. She told me people who are suspected of the virus go in alive in hospital but come out dead. Will this stop people from even getting medical attention? Oh dear.
Well, I think the point she's trying to make is that in Bangladesh there's no NHS. Okay, so there's no NHS. The poor people are going to be left poor people. Every country is going to be struggling for their own survival. And a lot of the poor people around the world are going to really, really suffer. I mean, are they going to get proper medication? Because if, for example, if the aid work stops, if aid work freezes, there's going to be no help happening, because a lot of these charity organizations and NGOs, they depend on international aid support. If that's not going through, because those countries don't have that kind of level of infrastructure that we have. We have an NHS, that's why we're depending on this. And the whole strategy, Boris Johnson's strategy, is based around saving the NHS so that it can cope with the crisis, yeah? And that's what they're doing. But obviously I'm not so well educated around other countries, especially Bangladesh, but that is a concern. I mean, that's a view that the sister has actually highlighted. So I mean, I can't really make a comment on that, but it's quite scary.
I personally am very worried from an international point of view, because we know that a lot of the Muslim charities, Islamic charities, do a lot of fundraisers during the month of Ramadan. And what's happening is, with all the masajids closing, we don't know what the situation would be the TV. And what's happening is the end result is going to be the poor, because these charities will not be able to distribute in those areas where they normally would go on. Well, so we're looking about millions of...
Wait, just to clarify, not all charities. Those charities who receive grants and aid, who get support from other sources like government support, they'll be able to function and they'll be able to continue their work. Those charities that are smaller scale, who are not dependent on grants and aids from various different sources, they are going to struggle definitely, yeah? However, that's something that those charities will have to deal with, because knowing the global context now, how it's going to have an impact. Yes, we're concerned about what's happening in the UK, and many of us are going to be concerned about what's happening to the countries that our parents come from, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or whatever. And obviously we may not have the solutions for those countries. The only solution sometimes we have is we provide help and support in aid and so forth. That definitely may stop. However, we need to encourage the people not to stop giving. They need to find means and mediums of how they can continue giving to their chosen charities so that they can continue those work.
People are worried. They're thinking it might last them months. People are losing jobs. A lot of people, my own friend, he works in Uber, it is very risky. You need, if you now give out, people are thinking, if you give out all the charity.
People are going to lose jobs. People are going to lose jobs. People are going to struggle with their mortgages. It's a fact. We're going to go through a crisis. The question is, we've got to quickly get ready and put our defense mechanism up so that we can actually survive this. We've got to winter this. We've got to, these things are going to happen. We have to accept the reality. The question is, how quickly are we getting this solution? How quickly are we organizing ourselves? How quickly we're able to inform and get the communities activated in doing good work and not being the problem themselves. And that's what we've got to look at. We won't be able to solve all the problems, but we can actually do our best to kind of like move forward. Our problems haven't even come to us yet. We're still okay in one sense. We're trying to contain the contamination at the moment. Yeah. The after effect is going to happen very soon in a couple of weeks' time. That's when we're going to see
Can you explain what you mean by that? I think what are after effects?
Well, the effect is when more people have the virus and they start going to hospital. You see, at the moment, the brother you spoke to, he's not in a hospital. Why is he not in a hospital?
They told him to.
Yeah, they told him to go home.
Go home and self-isolate. Yeah, another brother, Bari, he's one of the volunteers of Islamic Masjid. He went to the hospital, and from there he got infected. His children got infected, and we all know him, volunteer of Islamic Masjid. He was very upset that they would not, the NHS, let's say Whitechapel, they're overstretched to maximum. So it's a question of time when that breaks. Will that break? I don't know. From his point of view, he was saying the experience was awful. Sorry, Bari, you were going to say something.
No, what I'm saying that I think that the situation is such that the number of this sort of cases will definitely increase. And I know some stories in Bangladesh. One story I just read, and that's an authentic story. On someone from Dhaka, his father died, and hospitals and clinics, he banged the door for his father's to find ICU for his father, because that was his job. He couldn't find, and so those who are overstretched, and they will reject patients, and sometimes they will probably even misbehave. So the situation is in that sense bleak, and especially this country is a capitalist country, but is working on a socialist basis. How long can this cope? 6 to 800 billion pounds, America trillion dollars, and all this money at the moment is just giveaway, and whether they can recoup this tax, future is really in that situation. It is simply not a 2008 bank crisis. It's a social, health, economic, and political crisis. And I was reading. Yes.
Don't forget, we may also potential of social unrest.
Oh yeah, that's a social crisis. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is really uncertain. So I think people who have some ability to think should think seriously and should not just sit idle. Try to do as much as possible that you are doing with this service. And I was going to say that, all these mosques were closed. What about their volunteers? It's their job, in my opinion, to help the local people in their neighborhood. Say anyone who needs any. I'm heartened to see that in the wider society there are examples I can see. People are giving. A leaflet came to my house that if you need my help, if you need help in shopping and others, please call this area. Call this number.
Dr. Abdul Bari, that help is only possible when you have an address and you have a home. Okay. Let's look at homeless people. Okay. homeless people, they don't have an address. They don't have no, they may not even have communication. A lot of these hotspot areas where homeless people are, some of their services being closed down because of the advice that's been given. We will have a very desperate situation very soon with the homeless people, because they are one of the most likely victims, and also they're most likely to be carrying it as well. They need help and support. They need that kind of thing. So in our thinking, we need to also think about those people who are very vulnerable. They're going to be sleeping outside in the cold. I mean, I see them as well. And I sometimes think, well, let me just buy them some food and give them some food. And sometimes I do that. We need to have that in our mental thinking that, there are people who are homeless, and we need to make sure some of our, even if the emergency services are not helping them, at least our community projects and our volunteers that we have, so many of them, we could be going around, in an organized way, making sure that these homeless people who are on the streets, the advice is given to them, essential elements are given to them. Now, cleanliness and hygiene, how are they going to wash their hands? How are they going to have showers?
Dr. Abdul Bari, he just said, all those masjids who are closed, should the volunteers just disappear? Because they could be the ones, helping those homeless people and other people.
Because they don't have any other job now at the moment.
Yeah, they should be. So the mosque really can engage these volunteers to do more positive activities.
The question is, how do you do it in maintaining the social isolation? So we have to be very creative now in how we actually approach this as well. And we do need those volunteers. And I think we just need to be a little bit creative how we're going to do this. And I still think it's possible for us to have teams of people coordinating on social media, on these kind of platforms, with some meeting points where they can quickly go, still maintain their 2-meter distance.
There's some people who don't know about our call-in. They can call in into the studio. Can you just mention that? Sorry, I disturbed you. A very important point.
No, that's fine. No, it's very important. If people
can call in. There is a number below the screen. Please call in. Ask Dr. Abdul Bari lots of hard questions and easy questions.
We're only going to be on next 10 minutes, okay? So we're going to start concluding. Before we start concluding, I want to bring ourselves so that we start getting ready for any social unrest that may take place. And it's not that serious, but there has been some pockets of criminal activities, because some people are taking the advantage of less people on the streets, and streets are empty. So I know one person who got mugged going to the cash point machine as well. So the normal crime and that probably would reduce, but we may see a different type of crimes. Some people have been going to people's houses pretending they were they want information and so forth. So a lot of our elderly elderly pensioners are probably be vulnerable to crime as well. If there is any antisocial behavior and civil unrest, what do we do as a community? What can we do?
Do you want to answer?
Yeah, Abu, you start. Yeah, because
if there is civil unrest, what should we do
as a community?
Well, let me. I have some expertise with working with at-risk young people.
Yeah, that's why I've asked you the question first.
I was taught by people like Dr. Abdul Bari. So, I saw a group of people. They were taking drugs. They're young people. They live in overcrowded conditions. I was in Stepney Green this morning, and just spoke to them. I just needed to speak to them, that they are human beings and they can reform. Yeah, I just spoke to them and they were very respectful. They said, yes, I need to go home because I need to be safe, because I'm out there. These are people you could sort of say could be the antisocial group. And I think we need to engage them. The mosque volunteers can play a big role in engaging them. They want to play a role and they want to be part of helping. I remember my own life where volunteers of Islamic Mosque coming to me
Okay, Abu Bakr, let me just quickly disturb you there, yeah, because as soon as you send the message out that people can call in, we're getting callers coming in. Now,
I know.
before
We're
we
about
take
to
the
finish,
call,
and now they're calling in.
Dr. Abdul
Mashallah.
Bari, are you okay to stay for a little bit longer? I mean, how are you feeling? Because we've been on this chair for about 1.5 hours or maybe more. And because I come from a martial art background, yeah, I like to move around a little bit, make the joints and that kind of
Let's
moves a little bit.
exercise.
Yeah, so if you move around a little bit, you'll be okay, inshallah, yeah? Abu Bakr, you know, like roll your head a little bit. Come on, let's go. Let's get that blood circulating, all right? Okay, we got a caller. Let's go for the caller, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, salam.
Wa alaikum salam. Who's this and where are you calling from?
My name's Rapina.
Okay.
And I'm calling from East London. Obviously,
fantastic. Thank you for calling us
I'm
and
one of the
watching us as well.
Rapina.
Rapina, thank you very much for calling us. Yes, more than happy for you to take part. Do you have a question or you want to make an opinion?
Really, it's a bit of both. I mean, I'm head of Eden Care UK, and we've been putting out announcements and trying to get people that are feeling isolated and feeling low in their mental health to get in touch, so that we've got over 20 volunteers that are willing to give telephone support. So anybody that's feeling low or feeling isolated, or even if it's like people with elderly that they can't go and visit or see, or maybe they can't always make the time because they've got kids at home, they can get in touch with us as well. And we're willing to, you know, give them, in a way, a little bit of respite, and also to make sure that the elderly and the vulnerable are being, you know, looked after mentally and emotionally, because it's very scary. It's uncertain times. It's very scary. We don't know what's going on. You're hearing so many things on, not just on social media, but on the news as well. And it's just repeating itself, you know, especially now about cremation, you know, and also about our kids, you know, keeping them entertained and keeping them at home. How do we do that? You know, if they want to go out, you can't necessarily stop them.
Okay, sister, if you just hold on, let's go to Dr. Abdul Bari regarding how do we address this issue regarding our children, especially being trapped at home. I mean, you know, Dr. Abdul Bari, what would you advise us on this?
I think I have been dealing with difficult children because I was a special needs teacher with behavior difficulty children. So what I have seen is, if you love them, they will love you. As Abu Mumin has mentioned, they are respectful if you are respectful to them. So the antidote lies at home. Parenting, authoritative parenting, not dictatorial or not liberal, too liberal. And the time that has been gifted to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before Ramadan coming, we have about a month or 1 month, and the whole Ramadan. And Ramadan is a month of spirituality. I think if parents do really spend their quality time with their own children, building relationship, if their relationship was lost before, or strengthening relationship, and they themselves train themselves spirituality through memorizing Quran, practicing Islam, and nafil fasting if possible, that will have an impact on their own children. So that's one thing. And through this, I think parents should educate their own children that, look, we are living in a certain time where world is different. So it is important parents talk in their dinner table and separately or individually, and educate their children to prepare them for the eventualities. That probably is 50% work will be done. And to me, there is no alternative to this authoritative parenting. The other thing is, I mentioned about the mosque and volunteers. What are the purposes of the mosque leaders or volunteers at this moment? They are not doing the normal things. So it's a blessed time for them as well. And they have got huge connections with the local musallis, local neighborhood. So if family and mosque leaderships and community leaders come together, and the grassroots community is addressed, and obviously there are bigger organizations like MCB and others. That's a bigger things. I'm talking about the grassroots family and local community.
Okay, let's go back to the sister. Are you still online?
I am.
Jazakallah. Yeah. Obviously, that's one aspect. On the practical aspect, what I will say especially with our children, I mean, it's a unique opportunity for us to be there. I mean, I've got a 5-year-old, yeah, and my older daughter is planning his education program, so that we as a whole family are going to be spending time with him, giving him playtime, reading time, writing time. All of us are going to be engaging with him so that he gets a share of all his brothers and sisters, his mum and his dad as well. At the moment, he's not going to be able to see any of his cousin brothers or his grandparents. What we're trying to do is making sure that he sees them through Skype, through WhatsApp video calls, so that he still can have that relationship with everyone. So I think it is very, very important as families, especially with our children, is to give them that aspect, the spiritual aspect, and also the physical aspect. They need to be training and exercising, yeah? Because look, 3 of us have been sitting on this chair for over an hour and a half, okay? And normally, in normal circumstances, like we wouldn't listen to a lecture more than 20 minutes or half an hour, but because of abnormal circumstances, we want to be able to appeal to people. We are willing to sacrifice, keep more people engaged with us so that we can communicate and share information. So we're going to sacrifice whatever it takes to kind of engage with yourselves. But with our children, we're going to give them physical training as well. Get them to do some exercises, please, because if they're going to be at home and they're not going out, believe me, they're going to go on tantrums and things like that. They're going to misbehave. So if you give them some, with my boy, I'm going to do exercise with him before he goes to sleep so that he goes to sleep straight on time as well. So there's all those things you have to think about. How would you deal with it, sister?
That all sounds, like really good and everything, and it's all right. That part of it doesn't class all the young people. Other Mumin talked about young people at risk. At the end of the day, it's engaging them. When you're not able to go near them, this social, social distancing and things like that, how do you engage young people like that? How do you engage them so that they are mentally, sane and mentally aware of what's going on? They need to have this. I've been a youth worker for a long time too.
I know. Let's clarify this. Yeah, we need to clarify this because I'm speaking from the context of your own immediate family members. So so let's say I've got my children. So obviously, I can't socially distance myself because we'd be sharing the same kind of space unless I know one of my members of my family is got the symptoms and so forth. Then they might have to isolate themselves in a bedroom or whatever. Yeah. So these are the strategies that we need to deploy for ourselves. However, I'm restricting my family members going out their house. Only one person or 2 people will go out to get necessary stuff. So I'm kind of contained in my house at the moment. However, for me to engage with other young people,
everybody has to have that
responsibility. Like for example, I teach martial art.
I've got that going on in our house as well.
Yes.
But I'm talking about, there are kids that won't listen.
Yes, there is. Definitely. There are kids who still
there are young people that, still want to go out and socialize. I'm still hearing that supermarkets and that are still having queues. I don't understand why people, after they've cleared all the shelves and everything and all of that, why they still need to carry on doing that.
Well, maybe because some people are late into going and doing their shopping. But one thing I do want to mention, and I want to mention, is about now you're going to have the mum and dad, or mum and the children and the grandparents, all confined in a small space. And Farhana, she said, she loves spending quality time with her children, but she needs a break. Listen, if you're going to be at home, don't develop a program. Fun time, happy time, mum time, children time.
And dad's time as well.
You have to do this. I've seen I'm hearing stories. Oh, my children, they give them a break. It's not school. They should have education time. and they should have fun time during, and that could be TV time. They're watching a cartoon or two. That's when you go and have a break as a parent. Otherwise, it's going to be crazy.
Wait,
I actually wanted to ask Abdul Bari bhai.
Yeah, before you do that, Abu Bay, can I just thank the sister for bravely calling in? Inshallah, your contribution definitely has made benefits to other people who are listening. So, Jazakallah, sister, for actually calling us, and Assalamu alaikum, and continue watching us. We're going to try our best to be online regularly every day. Please message us and let us know if this timing is good for everyone. There is a lot of people watching us at the moment. Bari bhai, let's come to yourself. I mean, we'd like to conclude now. So, inshallah, if you can kind of like draw on upon the discussion that we've had today, if any other thoughts come into your head, please share it with us. Obviously, we've kind of run out of time. I would like to continue more, but obviously...
Can I ask that question to Bari bhai?
Yeah, you asked that question, and then Bari bhai can conclude.
In his conclusion, one is, how do you, as a murabbi, keep yourself busy during this isolation period?
And do you do exercise? And does Bari bhai exercise?
Probably writing a book.
I do exercise. I do exercise, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. In your home? Or do you have a garden?
In my home, what I do is, today was Sunday, and couple of us, 2-3 of us, went to nearby park. There are no that people, and we didn't go into the there. There in the park there are some exercise area. We didn't go into the exercise area. We walked with keeping 2-meter distance between. We walked quite a lot, so we thought that is acceptable. But if they're caring, we'll go near that. At home, I spend time, as probably Abdul has mentioned, I spend time in reading and writing. And also my granddaughter comes nearly every day now, and we spend time with her. Of course, we keep as much distance as possible. We pray together in a Jamaat. And for my daughter who lives in America with her 2 children, we have advised, and she knows that she has to make a program for that. Say daily program, as Abu Mumin has mentioned. Fun time, enjoyment time, TV time, whatever time. And if children love creativity, and children will really love that their parents were not available, especially fathers were not available in their life in the past. So they will initially really like it, but do not try to overdo things and bore your children by your presence. So give them space. So there are many ways as a teacher, as parent, as now grandparent, we have to innovate things. And I am sure that the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, and I am repeating this, is blessing in disguise. So let's use this for our sadaqah jariyah. And if we can prepare ourselves spiritually, religiously, and if Allah forbid one of us go and meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at some stage, and that's wonderful that we will meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while we are practicing his deen. And so in any case, we have to be imprisoned at home. So let's not call this an imprisonment. It is spiritual seclusion, and especially Ramadan is coming, so we should prepare Ramadan. And Prophet ﷺ mentioned that welcome Ramadan in the month of Rajab and Shaban. We are welcoming Ramadan, unfortunately, in a very different situation. And if we can plan our life, and if we can change our mentality that this is here for a long we will not feel bored, and we should not feel bored. If we feel bored, we'll feel bored many times.
Jazakallah, Dr. Abdul Bari, for taking your time out to be with us. And I know at times of crisis, you've always come forward. You've lended your help and support for the community. You've been tirelessly working for the community, inshallah, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Jazakallah, continue doing that. Allah give you good health, and also you are a great role model for us, and it's a privilege to have you on our show today. Abu Bay, thank you for coming as well. your last take on the last 30 seconds.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair for giving me the opportunity. We've discussed a number of topics from cremation to burial to social isolation to how we can help. We talked about the global issue. One important thing, everybody who's listening, I need to say to you, some of you have said it, and I'm going to say you should not be scared. Whatever happens will happen by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We, the community is here to support you. Anybody who is isolated, Muslim or non-Muslim, we should help them. We are duty bound to help them. And you know, many organizations are out there. One of them is Eating Care. We are happy to offer that support where we can. If you know or hear about anybody, contact us, and do not be scared, because our time will come. The Secretary General of MCB today said, he quoted, he said, "Kullu nafsin za'iqatul maut," the Quranic verse, that every one of us will go. What we need to do is go with good deeds, and not bad deeds. So please be strong, and let's work together as a community to overcome this problem. And there will be many more problems. This is just one of many.
Jazakallah Abu Bay, thank you for coming. From myself, Bari Bay, from Abdul Mir here. It's a good opportunity for me to engage with everyone, having my guest here. Very great opportunity for us to be on Let's Talk About It. You know, we want to talk about these subjects regularly, because in our isolation, we need some platform, some opportunities, some medium to actually get our message across, or also receive information from all those who may be watching us, because there are people who feel very uncomfortable in their isolation, and this could be a good medium of actually helping them, supporting them. We've actually were able to bring a lot of areas in, inshallah. I know people are concerned about cremation. Just like Dr. Abdul Bari says, it's our right to actually ask for things that we should have. We're not doing something abnormal. Please do continue putting pressure on the local authority, on the relevant bodies. Please lobby your MPs, sign the petition. If you act early, response early, then people will then take your views in consideration, because you are part and parcel of the British society. We are not separate. We are the part of the society, and we should contribute, and we should feel like that as well. This coronavirus is affecting the global world. It's affecting us locally. It's affecting people far away and near us, and we can't see it, and which makes it more difficult for us. And we are dependent on many other bodies to do their bit. That's why teamwork, partnership is all required. Let us as a community do our best in providing that support. Let's take those instructions seriously. Let's encourage each other not to socialize and mingle unnecessary. Let's take all the precautions that is going to be benefit in saving lives, not harming lives. Let us not also forget there are many people who have been poor 24 hours, who are homeless 24 hours, who are victims of war, who are oppressed around the world, who also will now face another big crisis and burden with this coronavirus. And I know for a fact that this virus has also entered some of those regions where we are actually providing aid and support, like Syria and other areas. Even those people are now facing this new form of enemy now, yeah? So let us pray for everybody. Let's pray for our own safety as well. And let's also be respectful and mindful of the frontline service providers who are risking their life to look after us and help us as well. Let's provide that support. My appeal to the community leaders and organizations out there, charity sectors and non-charity sectors, let's do something in the UK. Let's help. We have the most powerful, strongest volunteers sector out of all the BME communities. Let's put that into good use before the month of Ramadan comes, so that we will relieve the burden from those who are actually at the front line, so they can do their job better and more efficiently, more effectively. We're in it together, like some politician has said. We need to survive together as well, and every single death means something to us. Okay, they're not just numbers; they mean something. They are human beings. Let's not lose our humanity. Let's not lose our morality, and let's think of everyone. And let's all be safe, and let's all look after each other in the best way we can. And with that particular note, I'd like to depart now, inshallah. Hopefully, I'll come back in tomorrow Not sure what the time is, but continue following us. Fantastic platform. Vodcasts, it's a good medium of actually communicating with people. We've got our own little, TV station using Skype, and I've got Big Brother behind the scene who's actually helping, controlling, managing everything behind the scene. I'm not doing everything. I'm just basically sitting in my secret location in my bunker. As you can see, the bikes are at the back, okay, ready for whatever kind of problems that come. I see it in that particular way. I'm also camping in my flat as well. I asked one of my boys to come and camp out because we don't have enough beds to sleep in my flat. So I'm going to get my older boy to sleep in the living room, and he's going to camp out there as well. Yeah. So we're all going to be deploying different strategies for ourselves. A lot of people went and did some bulk shopping. That's all good. Yeah. But remember, if you've got too much, you can share as well. So when the call comes out that people need food, people are struggling with food, if you've got extra meat, if you've got extra food that got long lasting dates on them, don't hesitate. This is the time to gain the reward and Allah's pleasure. Put your hands up and say, look, listen, I've got extra baked beans here. Here we go. Let's give them to the charities who are going to be distributing them to the needy people who need them. Yeah. So I know people have stocked up. Some people have got rooms full of items. Yeah. Please be considerate, help others. And this is the time, Allah will see your good deed and Allah will see whatever little action that you do. And also last thing I'd like to say to everyone, there are some people sending vile videos and messages, wasting their time. Please, please, please don't send those kind of things. I've made comments on some of the WhatsApp groups that, I don't want to see none of that stuff. I don't want to see or hear or talk about negativity. If you've got something positive to share positive stuff. Don't cuss and slate other people for whatever reasons in this current crisis. You should be thinking about yourself and your families, not trying to score points. So if you are engaged in that kind of antisocial behavior on the social media side of things, please annoy it and put that to a side. We're at a critical stage. We're not at the stage of the real peak at the moment. So let's prepare for that. So inshallah, on that particular note, and my guest in the studio, Jazakallah to everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.